Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life. And there is no doubt that she studied Princess Diana. She studied her mannerisms towards Harry when he was a boy and the way that she grabs her face. And this is the psychopathic elements of what she does, putting a pregnancy text next to Princess Diana's hair, saying that she put her hands on the grave to have a conversation with her, bursting into tears. And she has convinced, there's a thing called in psychology called the Freudian transfer. She has convinced Harry that she is Princess Diana.
David Foster's annual Christmas gathering is usually the kind of event people talk about for years. Set deep in Santa Barbara's elite circles, where ocean air mixes with old money and new fame, his holiday party has long been a magnet for Hollywood's most powerful figures. This year's celebration, held just days ago, was no different. The guest list glittered with Oscar winners, chart-topping musicians, industry executives, and cultural power brokers. Champagne flowed beneath twinkling lights, laughter drifted across perfectly manicured gardens, and conversations about deals, fortunes, and future projects filled the night like background music. But amid the sparkle and excess, two names were conspicuously missing: Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They weren't delayed. They weren't overlooked. And according to multiple insiders, their absence was deliberate. Not invited. Not welcome. What might appear at first glance to be a simple social snub quickly reveals itself as something far more consequential. This wasn't a forgotten RSVP or an accidental omission. It was a calculated exclusion, one that signaled a serious fracture in relationships that were once publicly portrayed as warm, even familial. David Foster himself reportedly made no attempt to soften the message. According to those close to him, he has been done with Harry ever since Harry married Meghan. That statement alone speaks volumes, suggesting that the turning point wasn't time, distance, or royal controversy, but the marriage itself. Before 2018, Foster's relationship with Harry was described as relaxed and genuine. The two bonded over shared interests, including polo, and Foster, whose career has been built on mentoring some of the world's biggest musical talents, took on a guiding role. For Harry, navigating life amid royal turmoil, Foster represented stability, experience, and discretion. But after the wedding, insiders say everything changed. According to sources, Meghan's presence introduced a new dynamic, one defined by ambition, visibility, and controversy. Decisions that had once been discussed collaboratively became unilateral. Media exposure began to outweigh behind-the-scenes loyalty. Quiet relationships gave way to headline-making moments. Televised interviews, documentaries, and public grievances that clashed sharply with Foster's long-held values of privacy and trust. This shift became especially pronounced during the Sussexes' dramatic exit from royal life in 2020. Foster stepped in during that turbulent period, believing he was helping friends navigate a difficult transition. Instead, according to his account, his assistance was mishandled, undervalued, and ultimately taken for granted. What had once been framed as a modern fairy tale, royalty blending seamlessly with Hollywood, began unraveling into something far more divisive. The fallout didn't just alienate the British royal family. It strained relationships with key Hollywood figures as well, Foster among them. By late 2024, the cracks were impossible to ignore. Harry was notably absent from Foster's 75th birthday celebration in November, an omission that raised eyebrows given how close the two men had once appeared. Royal commentators speculated that the absence signaled deeper trouble. When Christmas came around and Harry and Meghan were nowhere near Foster's star-studded holiday party, the message became unmistakable. Social media lit up with speculation. Some claimed security had turned the couple away. Others said their names were never on the list to begin with. Either way, the exclusion confirmed what many had suspected: the relationship was over. Foster's frustration also reflects a broader sentiment growing within elite circles. The couple's litigious approach, constant legal battles with tabloids, and repeated emphasis on victimhood have reportedly worn thin. Hollywood, insiders whisper, is growing tired. And when David Foster speaks, even indirectly, people listen. Known for his restraint and careful choice of words, Foster is not someone who thrives on public feuds. That makes his comments all the more striking. His remarks paint the picture of a benefactor who feels burned, a man who extended trust and resources only to see both mishandled. At the center of the fallout lies the issue of security, specifically, Foster's role as a middleman during the Sussexes' frantic transition away from royal protection. When Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step back from royal duties in January 2020, their publicly funded security was abruptly withdrawn. The situation created chaos. Paparazzi pressure intensified. Safety concerns multiplied. And the couple suddenly found themselves responsible for arranging complex, high-level protection on their own. That's where Foster came in. Leveraging his extensive network in Canada and the United States, Foster helped coordinate private security for the couple and their infant son, Archie. He arranged introductions, negotiated with firms, vetted personnel, and facilitated protection across multiple locations. The Vancouver Island mansion, secured through a complicated trust arrangement, became a temporary fortress during a period of intense scrutiny. According to those familiar with the process, Foster didn't just make introductions. He personally vouched for the couple, putting his reputation on the line to secure expedited arrangements with elite security providers. This included round-the-clock guards, armored vehicles, surveillance systems, encrypted communications, and rapid response logistics. What was meant to be temporary assistance quickly turned into a prolonged entanglement. As the Sussexes relocated to California, their security demands reportedly escalated. Foster's involvement continued, but the lines between friendship and professional obligation blurred. Insiders say he grew increasingly uncomfortable as requests multiplied and expectations ballooned. Miscommunications followed. One incident allegedly involved a last-minute change to security protocols at a high-profile event. Foster's recommendations were overridden, resulting in a near-paparazzi breach that could have spiraled into a public disaster. Matters worsened when confidential details of the security arrangements leaked to the press, details that reflected poorly on Foster and placed him squarely in the middle of controversy he never sought. Trust eroded further when promised reimbursements failed to materialize. According to multiple sources, Foster had secured discounted rates from security firms based on his personal assurances. When payments lagged, he found himself fielding uncomfortable questions and facing mounting invoices. Emails went unanswered. Calls were deflected. What had once been a straightforward favor turned into a lingering financial dispute. The damage extended beyond money. Foster's reputation, carefully built over decades, took a hit. Industry peers began quietly questioning his judgment. Social circles whispered. Professional opportunities cooled. In Hollywood, perception matters as much as reality, and the appearance that Foster had been left holding the bag cast a long shadow. Socially, the impact was just as sharp. Santa Barbara's elite community is small, insular, and observant. Excluding Harry and Meghan from his Christmas party wasn't pettiness, it was a public signal. A line drawn. Even within his own household, tensions reportedly surfaced. Foster's wife, Catherine McPhee, who shared a past connection with Meghan, found herself caught in the crossfire. Ultimately, Foster chose to protect his legacy rather than preserve fractured loyalties. Then there was the money, the unpaid obligations that Foster reportedly views as the final betrayal. Sources allege that during the height of the security crisis, Foster personally advanced funds or guaranteed payments to keep the protection operation running. These weren't minor expenses. Estimates place the total in the low six figures, possibly more, once emergency add-ons and escalating threats are factored in. For a man known for meticulous business practices, unpaid bills weren't just an inconvenience, they were an affront. Repeated attempts to recover the funds allegedly went nowhere. Meanwhile, the Sussexes' public displays of wealth only deepened the resentment. A multi-million-dollar Montecito estate, lucrative streaming deals, international appearances, and high-profile ventures. Why, Foster reportedly asked privately, was repayment always postponed? Rumors spread that this wasn't an isolated issue. Whispers circulated about delayed charity filings, mounting expenses, and unresolved legal costs related to Harry's UK court battles. In Santa Barbara's tight-knit circles, such stories travel fast. In the end, Foster reportedly absorbed the costs himself, settling with providers to protect his standing. But the resentment lingered. What could have been a minor financial matter became symbolic of something deeper, a perceived sense of entitlement and disregard for personal favors. The Christmas party exclusion, then, was not an isolated act. It was part of a broader pattern of distancing. Foster now joins a growing list of former allies who have quietly stepped back. Oprah Winfrey has scaled down public support. The Beckhams' once warm ties have cooled. Even neighbors in Montecito are said to be keeping their distance. As the holiday lights fade in Santa Barbara, the message is clear. Hollywood is not royalty. Relationships here are built on reciprocity, discretion, and trust, not titles or expectations. For David Foster, the chapter is closed. For Harry and Meghan, the question remains, can bridges be rebuilt, or will more doors quietly close? Because in Hollywood, invitations are earned, and once trust is broken, it's rarely restored.